The Incredibles 2. This is the sequel to The Incredibles. And in fact, it's a direct sequel to The Incredibles. And when I mean direct, it's like literally takes place right after the first Incredibles. And once again, this is written and directed by Brad Bird. And basically, it's about The Incredibles after they fight the Underminer, which I gotta say is just as amazing as I thought it was gonna be. Mr. Incredible, Elastigirl, and Frozone are approached by this company, especially this one guy who runs the company, and he wants to try to get superheroes legalized again. So, he has Elastigirl go on these missions to basically generate a bunch of public support so that it'll basically persuade Congress or any other political thing, I don't know what it is, to make superheroes legal again. And yeah, this has been my most anticipated film for a while. Like, ever since they finally announced that there was a new Incredibles, I was like, finally, like, because it's been way too long. We had 2 Cars sequels and a Monsters, Inc. prequel, which, for me, is by far the worst of Pixar that I've ever seen. And so, all of this was done, and yet we never got an Incredibles 2? I never understood that. Well, thankfully I can say that this was well worth the wait. The Incredibles 2 is so funny, so energized, so action-packed, and so likable. For me, the first Incredibles is the greatest Pixar movie ever made. Like, it's up there with my favorite, with 2 of my other favorites, like Finding Nemo and Monsters, Inc. But I do feel like The Incredibles is just a little bit better than those movies. Now, I wouldn't say this is better than the first Incredibles, like The Incredibles 2. I don't think it's better, but I would put it on par with the first one. Yeah, get it? Par? Yeah, get it? Because that's The Incredibles' last names. Like, before I saw this film, I would have said that the Incredibles had the greatest action I've ever seen in an animated movie. The animation in that first film was so creative, so energized, and of course the animated environment was able to really make it larger than life. Well, I can't say that anymore because I feel like The Incredibles 2 actually steps it up. The animation, of course, has been majorly improved since the first one. And I'm not saying that the first one had bad animation. I'm not. It's just, it's shocking how fluid everything moves in this one. The colors are all incredible. And yeah, there has been some controversy over, like, the flashing lights and epilepsy or something like that. I don't know if I'm even saying it right. Luckily, I don't suffer from that, so it didn't bother me. It was just really cool to watch. But, wow, visually, this is one of the most gorgeous animated movies ever made. And once again, the action sequences, holy shit, they're so cool. Especially the Elastigirl stuff. Like, it was already cool seeing what she could do in the first one, but now, like, with, since technology has improved, seeing Elastigirl doing all this stuff in this film is so cool, and seeing Frozone doing all his stuff is so cool, or Violet, or Jack, or Mr. Incredible. I mean, all of it is just done so amazingly in this film, and holy shit, when it comes to comedy, this movie is hilarious. There was one scene that, I'm trying to think, like, I mean, you've seen it in the trailers and stuff, where Jack has this power to phase through objects. Well, the second time he does that, it's, like, Mr. Incredible's reaction is so funny. Oh my god, I was laughing my ass off. Because I can only imagine that what Mr. Incredible is going through is so nauseatingly annoying. Oh my god, and that's another thing. Like, some people, like, some trolls have complained that, why is Mr. Incredible doing the mom's work and the woman is doing all the superhero stuff? SJW propaganda! Which, look, those people are idiots. It's actually really funny, seeing Mr. Incredible having to handle all of this stuff, especially since Jack is just now showing off his powers and has really no control over them, and it's just so freaking hilarious. Oh my god, there's a scene that involves Jack and a raccoon. Oh my god, I felt sorry for this raccoon, because this shit is terrifying what he must be going through. It's, like I said, it's just so funny. And we also get some really funny scenes involving Frozone, played by Samuel L. Jackson, who was one of these standout characters of the first film. but just wow, the comedy in this was just absolutely insane. And the main thing that I just really love about The Incredibles 2 is that I just love seeing things progress. I mean, when you have a sequel to The Incredibles, I mean, of course, I want things to progress. I love seeing a story continue in a very well done way. And I feel like The Incredibles 2 actually does that really well. Now let me talk about the villain. While I don't think the villain in this movie is as good as Syndrome from the first Incredibles, and he was an amazing villain, and really you could argue that Syndrome was probably ahead of his time when it came to toxic fandom, just getting so angry over just the littlest things. I mean, like, yeah, Syndrome was such a great character. And while, like I said, the Screenslaver, which is the villain's name in this movie, isn't as good as Syndrome, I feel like they did it well enough to where it's not a problem. What the Screenslaver is able to do actually allows for so much creativity in the action. And you'll know what I'm talking about when you see this film, if you've seen this film. Yeah, I loved The Incredibles 2. It was well worth the wait. The characters are just as awesome as I remember them being in the first one. The action is even better this time around. Michael Giacchino's score is so cool, and it just brings back a lot of nostalgia. And Brad Bird's writing and direction is so good in this film. And you know what? Screw it. I'm going to give The Incredibles 2 a 10 out of 10. So, what do you think of The Incredibles 2? Let me know down in the comments below what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a like, share the video so we can get the channel circulated. Don't forget to support my Patreon on my Patreon page. And if you want to see more, click this.